Thanks, Shubs. Good afternoon. Is it already? Yes, it is still. Well, good morning, actually. Good morning to members of the media. Good to see you guys here. Supersport United, of course, it's a Pretoria derby. You can find all the headlines already, so I don't want to do that for you. It's Pretoria derby, top of the table clash, one versus two. Two very good teams, very good teams, but two very different styles of play, and the data goes to support that. Interestingly enough, Supersport United, already the profile you see, they've got the highest number of throw-in shots in the league with 6. They've got the highest number of crosses in the league with 186. Or box crosses in the league with 186. But funny is that the distribution from the goalkeeper is not the longest in the league. The distribution from the centre backs in terms of distribution length is not the longest in the league, and of course that also gives you an element of saying that there are moments where they look to play from the back. And so very complex team with strengths that go maybe a little bit in contradiction to the profile at times. And then also, of course, one of the biggest strengths is that they've got an experienced coach who knows how to win. So we expect a very difficult match.
We'll open questions from the floor, and also let's just also use the players now. Thank you.
Thanks. Coach, you go into that match against the team, but it's some people are saying that you decide their title challenge that as if you win the title challenge is over. Your thoughts on that?
No, I reiterate what I said, Sapo, even longer before. The difference was less points, of course, for sure, but Gavin said there was no title race in the media. But I can say to you that in the background, to his players, he said the title race was on, and he believed and still believes that the title race was on. And I say what I say to the players, I say to you, and Tebza is my witness. There is no title that has been won in January. And this is what our mentality is. This is what we are honestly talking about, that it takes more than 40 points to win a title. It takes more than 40 points to win a title.
I have a question for the coach. We asked the coach after the game about your performances. I remember last season, at the end of the season, you had said you weren't entirely happy. You signed in January, and then you weren't entirely happy about your performances. And so at the beginning of the season, you obviously started in a different position, maybe as an 8, and then you switched to a 6 now in the diamond. The great performances that we've seen, has it been a matter of change of position, or you just had to dig deeper and you've settled better into the team? And for the coach, you're coming up against a team that you've won 10 games in a row, and Supersport was the last team that you lost against. Does that maybe change anything knowing that you lost, and maybe trying to avoid them doing a double over you, or is it business as it goes?
For me, last season I was struggling with the intensity when I got here. So in the preseason, I told myself I need to work on it, and I think my Dubai trip helped me a lot because it was very hot outside, and I did a lot of work on my endurance and stamina, and I came back in a better shape. So yeah, man, I think I'm enjoying myself right now as a 6, because I think the competition we have in the team, it is what is making me a better player. So yeah, I think overall the competition is what is making Mamelodi Sundowns a good team.
Yeah. Fortunately enough, I've already started with Supersport United. The first starting point for me was, of course, the game that they beat us in. And I've picked up quite a few interesting things there. One of the main interesting things was that, I don't know if many of you know, but during that game, Kevin Hunt was mic'd. And Supersport had put a mic on him. And I remember Pumlani Msibi, now very early in the morning, while watching the game, he kept referring back to, and they would mute a little bit the commentary so that you could hear the instructions. And very funny is that before we even considered the first goal where Al-Lakay received the ball on build-up and he dribbled, and though the press was a little bit narrower, he was actually shouting at Reyners. Because the instruction was, get a little bit tighter. I could hear, get tighter, get tighter. And then we were able to get the pass from the center backs into the fullback. And then they were very aggressive in the midfield, and then they went on the counter attack. But there's so much information you pick up from the plan with regards to the instructions that he was given during the 90 minutes. And then when you look at how they have already performed, because the last 3 games, Golden Arrows was a performance where, of course, they had to change the centre-back pairing. But the centre-back pairing of Ditokwe, the centre-back pairing of Tyson is one that they've been forced not to use, but that is a centre-back pairing that they've used for predominantly most of the matches, and they used in that match when they beat us. They've got an experienced Onismo Basera who's playing very, very well, some very, very good games. The 3 games I've watched so far, Marumo Gallants, Golden Arrows, and our match where they beat us 2-0. I've still got 2 more to do. Hopefully I get enough time. We've got 2 days off, so before the players come, they know that we will have 5 or 6 games where we can give them a lot of information. And of course, and then we will start with the game that they beat us in and show them, the players, how we lost that game. But in retrospect, having watched the game and remembering my talk at halftime, we were not so good. In the first half, we were very sloppy with our passes. We had the mentality of having beaten them already in the MTN8, and then the mentality was not right. But we've come a very, very long way since that match. And it's just an opportunity. We don't get motivated by revenge. We don't have that, because revenge is a motivation perspective or space that comes from a darker side. We are more motivated by our ambitions and our goals and what we want to achieve, and that comes from a lighter side. And we love always to be people that are positive, optimistic, and people that dwell in spaces of looking at things from more of a lighter side than from a darker side.
Coach, what do you make of Supersport's ability to keep digging deep every season, even though maybe some might argue they are a selling club and perhaps Sundowns are a bit more guilty of crippling them a little bit by taking some of their best players over the years, and also the fact that they got 2 of their top centre backs out injured, maybe definitely for this game and for the games after. Does it change the dynamics of Monday's game?
Yeah, when a team beats you, and when a team has a lot of experience in the coaching, you take very little for granted, and then you also dig deeper. And your question is 2-pronged. The first part is, what do I make of the club, of their ability to maintain the consistency. And I will say to you that apart from a lot of other factors, and a lot of other factors means a quality development with exceptional youth coaches like Kopo, who was there. I know he's not there anymore. Coach Godfrey, who I have enormous respect for, because I was a youth coach and I interacted with these people. Even while Caetano was there, I always had very, very good relations with the Supersport coaches, because we would meet in a lot of the youth tournaments and we would compete in that space. And so the youth system that Supersport have got with regards to developing talent, scouting and putting together a pool that has so much potential with getting to elite levels, representing the junior national teams, that has a lot to do with the youth system that they've set up. That includes the Supersport schools that you find predominantly throughout the province, throughout the country, and for me, I think that's one of those. And then, of course, the competence of the coaches and the staff that is there within the youth system. Then, of course, always, in my opinion, always recruiting the best coaches for the way the club is set up and supporting the best coaches. And you can go as far as Caetano himself, Stuart Baxter. You can go as far as Kevin Johnson and the support that he got even in difficult moments. You can go as far as Kevin Hunt in the 2 stints, and you can go as far as a certain Pitso Mosimane. And it's a club that has shown that they believe in the coach that they hire, and they do a lot of extensive research about the personality that they want and the person that they want to be in charge. And they support that, and that's compliments to the board and the structure that they have, for sure. But I want to also maybe in a moment give huge appraisal and a lot of credit to a certain Stan Matthews. And the guy is the epitome or the epicenter, rather, that's the word. He's the epicenter of Supersport success. Extremely intelligent man who I've had an honor to meet a couple of times and have coffee with a couple of times, exchange football ideas with a couple of times. He's taught me a lot with regards to how football in South Africa works, how football in the rest of the world works, because he's traveled, he's worked with a lot of very, very good coaches. He has extensive experience with regards to making sure that the team is always in the top 8. A wily character that works very, very hard in the transfer market to try and get the best talent at very, very good transfer means with regards to what they can and cannot afford. And so I think not a lot is said, because of course, and I agree that the game of football belongs to the players, but if maybe we were at a club like Manchester United, and you easily speak about Sir Alex Ferguson, in my opinion, Supersport United, you could easily knight Stan Matthews and knight him as a Sir Stan Matthews. The centre backs, yes, I've gone into a bit of research. They both were out with concussions. The game I started and have not finished, and you will excuse me for that, is the Cape Town City game. I saw the Tlokwe go and get a collision with Darren Keat, and I saw him and the paramedics, the doctors, the medical team touch a bit of the shoulder and the neck. It did look initially like a concussion, which is something similar that Tyson has. And with concussions, it's very delicate. The longest period that Tyson, I went into the history books too and did a bit of work. The longest period Tyson was out was 36 days at Bidvest. I think it was 2017, 2018, if I'm not mistaken, when he was out with the concussion. So I'm not so sure whether this is as severe as that. And I'm not so sure whether they will be out. But in the last 2 games, they've had very good performances from the 2 centre-backs that have stood in Sian Tlapo, very, very experienced. He's a Bafana international. And Luke Fleurs, who, junior international, comes from the academy, extremely consistent performer, very dominant in the air, comfortable on the ball. And so whether or not Tyson and Ditloko are out, the only difference is that with Ditloko you get a left foot, and then with Luke Fleurs you get a right foot. But for sure, the possibilities of still being very aggressive, very competitive with the centre-back pairing, regardless of who plays, still means that it's going to be very, very difficult to breach the defence, because even though the centre-back is a little bit, they've got QET who they've recruited now for a short period, but they are very stable with the double pivot that sits in front of the defensive line with Ndlovu and Grant Magaman. And although Grant is not going to be playing, but Jesse Don normally goes there, or maybe if one of the centre backs comes up, they do what they did against us, and maybe Sian Tlapo can even move to right back, or maybe even central midfield. And so it's a team that's, regardless of personnel, will be very, very difficult to find any form of penetration, particularly in the central corridor.
Questions for Tebza. I think in 2019, I don't even remember, you spoke and you said at the time you feel you're the best midfielder in South Africa and that you were ready to leave Supersport. Did you get a bit of a shock when you came to Sundowns and potentially feel that there's a step up in quality? And secondly, how much have you learned from the guy next to you since you joined Sundowns?
You said that in 2019.
Maybe end of 2019.
I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure, but I was not really shocked by my move, because I think I've worked very hard to be where I am right now. But the quality here is very high. It's very, very high. Like I said, the competition is what makes Mamelodi Sundowns a competitive team. And even the coach here, I've learned a lot. I can't say what I've learned from him, but I've learned a lot. And I think as the players of Mamelodi Sundowns, we can say Coach Rulani is our inspiration, because the work he puts in, it's out of this world. I don't think anyone here at Mamelodi Sundowns works the way he does. So yeah, he's really inspiration to us as the players.
I didn't pay him to say that.
Thomas from Far Post. Coach, quite interesting. James mentions how much you work. I'm interested in knowing what goes into preparing for a game for you as an individual. Besides the technical team, how do you prepare for a game?
I don't like talking about myself, and I really don't. It's one of the things that I try to refrain from, because I am just a part, and maybe the least important part of this football club. For sure, even in a musical band or in a choir, you have a tenor, you have a bass, and these people, I said that to the players yesterday, and I said these people are probably if you want the best choir and you want to make the best music, you acquire the best singers and the different type of singers, for sure, and that's what we have. We have some of the best football players in this country, some of the best football players in this continent. Hence, I asked Tebza if he said that in 2019 and not this year, because I think, in my opinion, this season in the country, there's very few that are at his level. And even on the continent, I think there's very few. How much goes into the preparation? A lot goes into the preparation. sometimes I listen to a lot of what my peers and my colleagues say, and I agree with them that I'm not the best coach in the world, nor the best coach in this country, but I can assure you that I'm the hardest working coach in this country. For sure.
How much have you removed the side to Ramara and
My question will be both to you, but I'll start with you, Coach. Yesterday we were with the players, Coach, and you mentioned something very interesting that because of the way football is evolving, we are likely in the future to have a situation where we probably have the technical team, the backroom staff, outnumbering the players, with a lot of people doing different things. I just want to find out from you, how far can we really go? Technology and innovation to make the game better. And to Debza, as a player, and I'm not saying this to undermine anyone's intelligence, but to say, wouldn't that be too much information if we have got a lot of people saying different things to you as a professional? But how far can we go with this stuff?
No, first. No, Deb's the first.
No, no, it will be like I'm buying the coach now. But usually, coach says that great players they catch information. They must catch information in a split seconds. So, for what you are saying or what you are asking, I think you must be able to catch that information in not in a split second, but. Yeah, you understand what I'm trying to say, but yeah.
It's very funny. We have these talks, and the players look at me sometimes. Last week, we were playing Richards Bay. I talked about robots.
Oh yeah.
Richards Bay.
Richards Bay. Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking about robots. I was talking about artificial intelligence taking over society. There's already the most intelligent form of recreation of the human brain in something called ChatGPT. I'll tell you now. Let me get the right name because I've got the app. And I've told all the players to download it, by the way. He's laughing because it's ChatGPT. So this thing is imagine this is 2023, and already you've got. I was telling the players there's a form of artificial, which is the first linguistic form of artificial intelligence that's already been set. Of course, over the past you've seen technology with iPhones, with computers, with memory, software, and all these things, and society is just always developing. But the biggest race now in technology is who can create the smartest form of artificial intelligence. And already now you have an app that can do quite a lot of things. There's a university professor started with this, and as this app came out late last year, you talk about these people like Elon Musk and them, and they work in this space. And this was accelerated by COVID because people this thing caught everyone unaware, so they are trying. And that's probably the biggest form of strength of human society, and maybe the weakness of human society is that our inquisitiveness. Our inquisitiveness is a strength as human beings, but it can also be a weakness because we want to know everything. 100 years ago, if I were to say to my community, "Hey, pula itlo nagausan," they would call me the rain king if it rained, if I could predict. But now I can. You go to social apps and technology, whatever it is, and there's easy to predict not just the rain but lightning, the duration of the rain, the duration of the lightning in a specific area, etc., etc., etc. And even places like Dubai now are creating rain clouds, and it rains artificially. So anyway, so technology and science, I'm trying to go into that space. I'm going to come to that because I've spoken about it. But to give you a background. So a university professor said to this app, he gave it a thesis topic and said, please write an essay or a thesis document. And in 3 seconds, this thing wrote, I don't know how many pages of a thesis. The university professor said, okay, no problem, please mark the thesis that you wrote. Mark it. This thing marked the 100 and something page document and marked it in 3 seconds and gave it a mark. I don't know what mark it was, but gave it a mark. Later on, this thing has even now already written the next Hollywood blockbuster. It took it 3 seconds to write the whole script. And then what it did was it also artificially sketched and drew the faces of the different characters within the movie. This is crazy. So the direction it's taking is that, one, society is moving into a space where everything very, very soon is going to be robotic. So when I said to you this is becoming, a couple of months ago, not most of you were using this. And you could not get wireless interaction and recordings. But this is a reflection of where society is going. That you could put this and you could put it here and you could maybe even be on the bottom pitch. And you could still probably get the audio and the recordings of what was said in the press conference. Today, we can live stream press conferences, and I can sit in my office. For an example, now I sit in camp. There's a team that remains behind that plays a friendly here, and I can watch it live because of technology and science. And the players come back the next day, and I give them corrections, and they say, "But you were not at the pitch when we were playing a friendly. How?" But I watch the friendly because while I'm in camp, there's a group of players that has to now be working a little bit. So my feeling is, even in competitive sport, a lot more of the roles, and I do not even think, to tell you the truth, I do not even think that the technical team will be as big as people think. I think artificial intelligence will take up capacity, human capacity. And there will be things that are done by the robots and by artificial intelligence that goes to give football players information. Now already you have something where you see Trent Alexander-Arnold puts all these neuro controllers on his brain when he works on set pieces. You watch these things at the highest level, the players are going into that space. So I agree that there's going to be a lot more specialization that comes into football. And it's going to happen in all the competitive sports because it's going to happen in society. It's going to happen in business. But already, my opinion is that a lot of that is going to be replaced by artificial intelligence and in the form of robots. And already in the sense you sit today where we are all data capturers. Everything is about data and information and science now to help us make better decisions. And those are things that you found in movies that were released a couple of years, 15, 20 years ago. And very soon we will be living in that era where a lot more science is going to take place or replace the form of human existence and human performance and output.
Yeah, Coach, the congested fixture program.
Yes, sir.
The players are not here today.
Yeah.
Give them 2 days or whatever. Is that not giving you sleepless nights, considering that the Champions League starts next month and there's the Nedbank Cup? Games are coming thick and fast.
No, it actually gives me heartbreaks because I miss them. I just miss them. I tell them all the time when I give them time off, I say, I'll miss you. Okay, cheers, bye, but I'll miss you. So that's why I seldom give them days off. It's not a sleepless nights. It's actually good for them. They need it. They deserve it. They run like soldiers. They sacrifice a lot on the pitch, and they give their best for this football club. And they deserve some time to spend with their sons and their families. So they deserve it. Tamala Bachali. Sorry.
Coach, I'm looking at the Supersport team that you'll be playing. It's less about 5 or 6 players that will be part of your 18 probably on a normal day. How does it feel knowing that the core of your squad knows both sides of the two books that they have? I mean, they know exactly what Supersport does, culture there, the tradition there, they've got the pages there, it's always game Sundowns. How much is it a plus or is it a minus for you knowing that these guys are well equipped on both sides of the story? And just to close it from my side, Coach Morgan Mamila says Sundowns. This
this guy
says the Sundowns script has to be now carried over to the national team, because you guys are doing something which is remarkable that the national team can benefit from. I don't know whether you came across that clip. Let's forget about what he said first at Dobson.
Yeah. How much does the fact that they know a lot about Supersport, it helps a lot, especially on the pitch, and not necessarily with regards to tactics, but also with regards to, mainly with regards to individual profiles and knowing the players well. They know the strengths and the weaknesses, but you can say the same on the other side. At Basera and Luke Flores and Capo, they played with them, and they know their strengths and their weaknesses too. So at the end of the day, that's what I say. It's the game, it belongs to the players. But there was a very funny. There was a time, I think a couple of years ago, where Kevin Hunt made reference to a honey badger. I don't know if you guys remember, you guys were there. And he made reference, I think he compared Steve Compella to a honey badger, and he even said to Coach Steve, Google a honey badger. I didn't know what a honey badger was. Although I follow the animals and I spend a lot of time in the safari and I try to understand a lot. But anyway, and I would compare Kevin Hunt to a honey badger himself. A honey badger is one of the smartest animals that you have. 1, 2, and you know what makes it smart? Because it comes with solutions. Kevin Hunt will come with solutions, make no doubts. He will complain to say, no, I do not have Grant Magaman, who is one of his best players, but he will come with a solution, because that's what honey badgers did. There was a honey badger that was kept captive in Pretoria, and it found a way out of its captivity by using stones and rocks and sticks to be able to escape. For sure, Kevin Hunt will find some form of solutions for us. And even though the players know, but the reality is Kevin Hunt is so experienced, he's a winner, and he will definitely come up with solutions and a means to try to be able to make sure the team is strong enough to fight against us. Bafana? No, I wouldn't like to comment. There's a coach at Bafana, I have to respect him. I have to respect Hugo Bros. I have to respect the fact that he's the national team coach, and so therefore I wouldn't like to respond to that, no.
Okay, fair enough, coach. So now, if you look at now at this stage of the competition, are you surprised that you have the Pirates, for instance, that's at this stage of the competition, that is 21 points behind you? we have a Chiefs that is 16 points behind you. Are you surprised? And I'm equating these teams because on paper they are the teams that are supposed to be challenging you for titles.
Am I surprised? No, I'm not, because it's the PSL. The PSL is a very difficult league. We all think this league is very, very difficult. It's very easy, but it is a very difficult league. What I would flip that statement by saying is that, again, give recognition to the Mamelodi Sundowns players. How easy it is to be a big team and not to be in the position that Mamelodi Sundowns is in. It's very easy. You have to look at some of the big teams and they are not at that level. And so when you ask about the other teams, I say to you, like I always say to you, you don't praise the Sundowns group of players enough. You don't. And you've got to, because the level of consistency, the level of performances that they put in, week out, the work ethic, the quality that they show on the pitch in terms of decision making and execution of certain things, for me, it makes me honored, and it makes me feel at times overwhelmed to be their coach, because they're an honest group of players with extreme quality, but they are able to still go on every single day and have the right mental aptitude to be able to play for this team. Believe me, you won't play for us if you don't have that. You won't play for us if you don't run on the pitch. It's very difficult for you to be on the pitch for us if you don't run and you don't show hunger and commitment and intensity in your play. It becomes very, very difficult, and that is of course a reflection on what I'm saying to you. This is what these players are showing week in, week out. We don't win games because of luck. There's a lot of hard work that goes into this group, and you don't give enough. The media doesn't give enough credit and praise to this group of players.
I will take the last two questions. I don't know if Ramara you want something as a sort of while your greetings.
I just want to ask you about something off the matter pitch. It's a subject that has divided opinion on the pitch. In recent weeks, there's been a lot of talk around Gaston Sirino. He's going possibly playing for Fana now that he's been in the country for 5 years. It's a trend worldwide. Players playing for countries where they were not born. At the recent World Cup, there was more than 100 players playing for countries that they were not born. Just want to find out from you being someone who works with Sirino and there being this possibility of him being eligible for Fana, what do you think about that trend?
The nationalization of very, very, very good players, I think, is something that should not be something that surprises us. I am surprised that we believe that we are one of the best, and we should be for sure, and for sure we should be one of the best teams on the continent. We should be at every World Cup. We should be participating and winning AFCON. We should be, because of the quality of football players that we have. I don't know why that issue of nationalization of talented players, particularly players that come from countries that export so much quality and have a conveyor belt that brings so much quality, and then there's surplus. For sure that should be utilized elsewhere, because they are very, very good players that should be playing at international level and maybe cannot get to that level because of the quantity where not everybody can play for the national team. And then I'm surprised that as a football nation we have so much of this discussion, because it's a normal football thing. It's a normal football thing for big national teams to be able. For an example, France won the Euros. They got to the final. They won the World Cup. they got to the finals of this World Cup, I think, with players that have a lot of African descent and grew up and were born in different African countries, but are now eligible to represent that national team. So it surprises me that it is a discussion. It shouldn't be a discussion. In fact, we should be saying, how do we make, the talk should be, how do we make our national team better? And if our feeling is that one of the solutions is to nationalize some of the exceptional players that don't get to play for their national teams, then for sure, if it is at the end a possibility that can help us to win and get ourselves into that level, then I see no reason why we should not be able to do that. And to talk about Gaston as a human being, incredible footballer, incredible human being, and someone that we are very lucky, us as Mamelodi Sundowns, to have.
Last question.
Coach, the return of Peter Shalubile after a long absence, are you relieved as it is that he's now back in action?
Yeah, Peter is an important part of the team. I reiterate again that you don't give enough credit to this group of players, because we've won games. We still scored more goals than everybody else without the top goal scorer and without the footballer of the season. That tells you a lot about the work that is done by this group of players on the pitch. We are not a team that focuses on individuals. We love Peter. The supporters love Peter. The football club loves Peter. Peter exemplifies the profile of a football player that we want to represent Mamelodi Sundowns with regards to the commitment, the bravery, the application on the pitch. But also, Peter is also a reflection of what I always say, that to be a good footballer, you need to be a good human being. And therefore, I feel that we are very fortunate to be in the space that at Mamelodi Sundowns, we don't only work with very, very good footballers, but we work with very, very good human beings. So Peter's return is one that speaks to returning to a very, very good group of players. And he just comes in to improve the level of the team, to improve the level of the competition amongst our strikers. And of course, because we all love him, the players love him. You saw when he scored, the players, almost the entire bench, the players stood up in recognition and clapping. And at the end, football is about the football players, football is about the team, and we try our utmost best to focus on the team. And Peter will take a little bit of time still. Be patient, because at the beginning of this season, I remember the first question after 4 games, 3 games, 4 games, maybe even 5 games, maybe, I don't remember the exact number. One of the questions in this press room was, Peter hasn't scored, and are you guys worried? And my response was, delete those articles, because he is going to score. But again, I plead for patience, because when a player, like any player, has been out for a very, very long time, to catch up to the tactics and the style of play, we've changed the system, we've changed a little bit of our pressing schemes, we've changed a little bit of how we play. And to catch match rhythm and to get a little bit of understanding in terms of the tactics is going to take a little bit of time. So let's not put too much pressure on Peter. Let's be a little bit patient, but for sure, of course, we welcome him back, because we love him, and he's still an important part of this football club.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Teboho. Thank you, members of the media, for coming.
Thank you so much. Thank you.